welcome to this week's What's for Dinner video. My name is Ashley. I'm going to be showing you 3 different meals I made this past week. I don't always follow recipes exactly, but if you're interested, I've linked some similar recipes down below. The first dinner I'm going to be showing you, I made some cheddar cheese stuffed cheeseburgers with some sweet potato fries on the side. So I am starting out with my hamburger meat. I did weigh out 3 ounces of meat for each part of the patty. I'm just going to flatten these out into kind of nice flat thin discs, and I'm just going to lightly season them. I'm just going to season both patties on the one side first, using some garlic salt, some pepper, and some Cajun seasoning. Next, I'm going to take a small handful of that cheddar cheese. It is shredded cheese. You can also use probably a slice of cheese. And then I'm going to cover it with the other patty and pinch the edges and make sure everything is closed. And I'm just going to squish this down even more until a kind of flatter patty. That's kind of what my husband prefers over a thick patty. And next, I'm just going to season the top side of that patty with the same seasoning, some garlic salt, Cajun seasoning, garlic powder, and some pepper. So that is how the first one came out, so I'm just going to do the same thing to the second hamburger. Before I start cooking the hamburgers, I'm going to get my sweet potato fries in the oven. So I just sprayed this baking sheet a little bit, and then I just popped that in the oven at 350 until they were crisp. So next, I'm just going to cook my cheeseburgers on a regular pan. I'm starting with just the first one. Didn't even need to spray any oil because this hamburger meat does have a lot of grease. I'm not the best at cooking beef because I can't tell when the inside is done. Sometimes you want it a little bit more pink, and I feel like I have no way of telling. So once that one was done, I just took that off to a separate plate, and then I just cooked the second cheeseburger. I mean, they look like pretty nice burgers, I will say. So then I just removed this one when it was done and assembled the hamburgers. This is how everything looked when it was done, just a typical nice family meal. So the next dinner I'm going to be showing you, I made some ground beef tacos Dorados and some Mexican rice. So I'm going to start out cooking my Mexican rice first because this does take the longest. So I did pour just a little bit of oil in a hot pan, let that heat up, and then I threw in 1 cup of white rice. I'm just going to stir this around because you want this to become nice and toasted. So next, I'm going to begin adding in my seasonings. I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of garlic salt. So I'm going to stir that all around so those seasonings can kind of cook. Then I'm going to add in my tomato sauce. I'm just going to add in half of a can of an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. So I'm going to mix that all into the rice, make sure it's all combined, and let it simmer down a little bit. Next, I'm going to add in my 2 cups of water, and then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder and 1 teaspoon of tomato bouillon powder. Once I bring it up to a simmer, I'm going to turn the heat down, throw a lid on it, and keep it closed for 20 minutes. So next, I'm going to cook the remainder ground beef that I had for the week, a little less than 1 pound. So I'm just going to break this up, let it cook, and then I will kind of drain out the grease and season it. I've never made these kind of tacos with ground beef, so this definitely was an experiment, and I think it worked out pretty well. So once the ground beef was done, I strained out the rest of the grease and then used a paper towel to kind of soak up what was left. Now I'm just going to season it with all of my favorite Mexican spices. I'm using some taco seasoning, some cumin, some garlic salt, and some onion powder. I also add a little bit of water to help stir in the seasonings. So next I'm going to start assembling the tacos. I took some corn tortillas, microwaved them with a little bit of water so they're nice and soft. Now I'm just going to fill the tacos with some of the ground beef and cheese and fold them in half. So I'm going to repeat the process with all of my tacos, and I'm going to work in batches. At the same time, I do have some oil heating up in the same pan that I cooked the ground beef in. I have it on medium heat, and that's what I'm going to fry in. So I'm just going to place each taco down carefully, kind of hold it closed so it'll fry close, and then I will flip them when they become nice and brown on the other side. So once they're done and your desired texture, you want to pick them up and drain the excess oil and put them on a drying rack to finish cooling. So I'm just going to repeat the process for all my tacos and finish cooking them. So you want to make sure you do drain the excess oil so when you bite into it, you don't get squirt with hot oil. This is how everything looked when it was done. Just topped it with some cream, lettuce, and salsa. The last dinner I'm going to be showing you is, of course, breakfast for dinner. So I'm just going to start out with my pancake mix. I'm making pancakes, eggs, and bacon. This is just from the bag, the blue bag. I forget which one that is actually called. We definitely like our pancakes nice and fluffy, so that is key to having thick batter. So I'm going to start off cooking my bacon first. I'm just going to cook up 4 slices and fry them on a pan. This is kind of just how I always do my bacon. I'm definitely not an expert in frying bacon. I just flip them when I think so and kind of just make sure each half of the bacon is cooked. If I was cooking bacon in large batches, I probably would do the oven method. So once they're done, I just remove them to a paper towel to drain the excess oil and some aluminum foil to keep them warm. So next I'm going to work on the eggs. I'm just going to crack 2 eggs into this pan and kind of let them cook before stirring them. I think one of the most important steps in cooking eggs is adding cheese. You cannot cook eggs without adding cheese. So I'm just going to add in a nice handful of cheddar cheese and add some pepper, and I'm just going to mix that together and let the cheese melt. So lastly, we are going to work on our pancakes. I just sprayed this pan with some canola oil spray. I'm just going to spoon some of the mixture onto the pan. We're just going to use some small pancakes. So I'm just going to let these cook up and then flip them when they are nice and brown on the bottom. Pancakes are one of my favorite breakfast foods. I'm definitely a pancake girl over waffles. This is how our breakfast came out. You can never go wrong with breakfast for dinner. Thank you so much for watching this week's What's for Dinner video. Make sure you come back next week for another one.